Well, good evening, everybody. I tried to run late, but you know, there's a gentleman below me that it just drives him nuts. So, good morning, Mr. Dr. Mr. Dan. We had a Jenny Miller sighting. Wow, does she ever work? I mean, she's on in your show, Bo, or she's on Hobby Hotline. Good grief! So, in the beginning of the day and at the end of the day, uh, you
Wait
are.
a second. I watched Bo at the beginning of the day and the end of the day. So, I mean, we can say the same thing about me.
We know how hard you work, Rich. We do. Welcome to episode 153 of Hobby Hotline. We are in overtime. We appreciate you spending some time in your busy day and your valuable time with us this evening. To my right, to my left is a gentleman that needs no introduction except for something about Cubs cards. I don't know what, but for some reason he likes Cub cards. Oh yeah, that's right. It's Bo 1 million cards. What is up, Mister Bo?
What is up? Long time.
I
Long
know. Good
time no
grief.
chat.
I know. I know. I get a job and then all of a sudden I disappear.
Poof, you're gone.
And then below me, he needs no introduction. The man, the myth, the legend, Uncle Rich Klein.
Good evening, and it was good seeing you yesterday. Even though I kept thinking it was Sunday, and I was wondering why you weren't at church. It
I
took me a while to realize it was Monday.
It was Monday. It was Monday. It is overtime, and let's see. So far, we got Dr. We got Jenny Miller. So we'll start off with some news and some topics and some stuff that's going on. And always, let me copy and let you come in and join the show if you prefer. If you don't, completely understand, but at least it's there. Comments and love will be appreciated. Let's start off with the elephant, the small elephant in the room. It looks like Friday is going to be something that's going to be dropping, and I don't know what it is that could be dropping, but something like Panini Prism 2021 dropping and actually, arriving a year late, but arriving. And it's only $1,600 per box online. How many are you going to buy, Mr. Bo Money Bucks?
Yeah, zero. Absolutely zero. And who would have thought? Let's rewind time 2 years ago, and if you would have stated 2021 Prism football was going to be released in June of the following year, not only that, but it's $1,600 a hobby box. I mean, we would have been pulling our hair. We would have been pulling our hair out and just going absolutely crazy. I mean, it just. I think we've all been waiting for this product, and now that it's here, you kind of sit back and think about it. 2 months almost after the NFL draft, the following year's draft, and here we are looking at last year's Prism football, and it's 1,600. I mean, that's just. I think $300 for a hobby box is outrageous. $400 a hobby box. So I'm not gonna buy anything Prism football if I see something in Walmart or Target, which I probably won't because there's gonna be people chasing down the vendors. So if I get lucky, I'll pick up a blaster or whatever I can find. But other than that, absolutely no interest in Prism football.
Yeah, what was really interesting, I was actually reading an article right before everybody came on, and how much is a blaster box going to be? If like base Prism draft picks are I think I paid 34 or 35 at Walmart the other day. How much is this Prism blaster going to be? I mean, come on, really? Who?
Well,
I don't
and
get
that's
it.
the asinine. That's the asinine part of it. Is it'll probably be $35 for a blaster box, just like it was with Prism Draft, and just like it is with Panini Chronicles. There's just, I think what Panini tried to do in the last year was get their retail pricing a little more to where they're getting a little more, skin in the game per se, where they're not having $20, they're not selling $20 blasters in retail, and then they're being sold on the secondary market for 200, where they're getting a little bit of that, you know, income, as opposed to flippers. But there hasn't really been like a streamlined pricing strategy with the different products. And I think that was kind of the plan. Like, we're going to price these products at $27 for a blaster, these products at $35, but we haven't really seen, outside of a few products that are at $27, most everything else is at $35. So that's my big question mark is if they're going to do, different pricing structures with these products. We really haven't seen it yet.
Well, in this, Dr. Dan makes a great point and counterpoint. If it's $1,600 for a hobby box, I'll gladly pay 35 for all the blasters I can get a hold of, and then wait and then buy the rookie cards or whoever for $1 on ComC. It just makes sense. I mean, yeah, this is Cooter. It's a great. How many pallets could you buy for 1,600, Bo?
About 4, roughly 4, and that's about 800,000 cards.
And
not
then
78 or whatever you get in a Prism hobby box or blaster box or whatever.
I could ship them to you. I have an office full of cards here.
I hear you.
You are welcome to.
I hear you.
We go through them once to take out, like, my friend Raymond once found some Hustler magazine cards in one of the boxes. So, and then we get rid of the stuff you trash. We try to get rid of it before it gets to you. But in all seriousness, you're right. It's 4 pallet loads of your Goodwill stuff. Or there's so many other things, but there is what I never thought I'd say. There's actually one advantage to the fact that 2021, which of course I'm not smart enough to catch until you mentioned it, that because we're in 2022, I assumed it was 2022. But one thing is, the rookie class, at least who had good years last year.
Yeah.
You don't have to, if you pull the best rookies from last year, you don't have to do it on a wing and a prayer. You know who had good years. You know who's going to be hot out of the packs immediately.
Yeah.
So there are some advantages for doing that, but I agree. I mean, I think we all agree that a $1,600 wax box, you would almost think you should get an ounce of gold in that box too.
That's true. Or at least, your windows cleaned in your house or something. I mean, good grief.
I got you to do that, Brad.
We're gonna catch up here. We're gonna say good morning or good morning. Listen to me. I'm so used to being in the morning. Good evening, Victor. We got Miss Jenny who's already where the banter started. So good evening, Jenny. We got Mr. Keating. We got Mr. Dan. Good evening, Cooter. And we got Skidmark. Good evening, Skidmark. And good evening, Rich Frank. And then I have to say good evening to Chris Harris. And Zach, I hope Porter's watching with you. And I hope both of you are having a great.
Did you remember to wish Porter? He had a happy birthday a couple of days ago. So did you remember to wish him a happy belated birthday?
I did not, and I apologize. So Porter, I apologize. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. I have been buried with work. You don't even know. But
wait a second, you were at my show all day Monday. It's kind of hard for you to be buried at work if you're at my show for a few
that's the only day off I've taken in life that I didn't jump online and do some sort of work. So
well, I'm sure your wife appreciated the fact that you had when you came back home. I'm sure Kim appreciated. By the way, you outkicked your coverage when you married her. I'm sure she appreciated that you spent some time with her.
Yes, she was very excited that I spent some time out of the house.
I gotcha. And by the way, we saw Victor was on, so we banter about Prism football. We could do it, but since none of us are really going to open it unless we find Prism boxes at 35 each at at our Walmart or our Target, isn't the Hall of Fame card voting ending in the next few days? And we want to publicize that.
Yeah, we want to make sure we remind everybody to vote. I am putting the link to vote. Well, I thought I was.
You did well. You've got it. It ends June 3rd, so it ends actually the midnight, basically midnight, the day just before we do our Saturday show.
Yeah, I'm going to make sure that I put that into the link so that people
It
who are
was so
watching.
easy to vote. It was such a pleasure.
It was really and I voted for all modern cards. So anything that was 70s and earlier, I took John Keating's advice and I did not vote for them. So all of that entailed. It was awesome. That was awesome. So let's remind everybody to make 100% sure that you vote there. Um, there wasn't even really any major news going on. There was
My other question with 2021 Prism coming out, when is 2022 Prism supposed to hit?
2025.
Yeah. Who knows?
Okay.
I forgot. I was thinking about when you mentioned how we know how the rookie class performed. I'm thinking Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson,
Mhm.
Justin Fields, they were rookies, right?
Yep.
And
You're going
I
to get
feel like,
you
I
could get
feel
all
like
the
we've had I feel like we've had a year of their rookie cards, and we have. I forgot. I mean, they feel like they've been in the league for at least 2 years, which I guess it's been close to it now.
Just wait till the NIL stuff starts hitting the world, and you have 3 or 4 years of cards of Trevor Lawrence, and he's the type of guy who definitely would have had cards when he was in college.
It'll be like baseball.
Yeah.
Look at this, Jack T Man fan actually able to catch a live show. That's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome.
So before Bo and I go into the world of show promoting, what else did we need to talk about in terms of? It was a light news week, but
It was a light news week. We've got fake T206 cards. I wish Bo would stop signing cards and selling them on eBay.
Right.
Oh, the guy, and I will point out when I read the article, the guy who got convicted, it was I think 6 or 7 years after they hit the marketplace. So the feds take their time doing things. They want about a 98% convict rate, but they also want to make sure it's right. And basically, if you get indicted by the feds, the odds are you're going to lose.
Yep.
This is something I'm sure I didn't talk about it on Hobby Hotline, and I probably brought it up on one of my YouTube shows, but Ryan Nolan, who's one of our panelists here on Hobby Hotline, did some great work with a series of videos on some fake slabs that were being attempted to be sold here in the Midwest near where I am. And in fact, one of them attempted to go through, I believe, the door at one of the local card shops. In fact, he's a dealer at one of my card shows. He was interviewed by Ryan in one of the videos. And I actually, at my last card show, a guy who I bought a collection from on Craigslist a couple years ago was at my card show, and we just hadn't seen each other in a couple of years. We start catching up, and he goes, "Yeah, I almost lost $11,000." And so that's a good conversation starter. Well, how did you almost lose $11,000? He actually was in conversation through email on a Craigslist listing of these particular fake cards that were going around that Ryan Nolan discovered. And in fact, it went all the way to him driving to Iowa from here in Wisconsin to meet. And the guy that I know wanted to meet up in the parking lot of a police station to make sure. I mean, this is $11,000, a big cash transaction. We're going to do it in the parking lot of a police station. The person on the other end with the listing said it was a little skittish, didn't want to do that, but eventually agreed to it. the guy that I know drove over to Iowa for the meeting, and it was a no-show. And so he's like, thank God it was a no-show, because I was ready to fork over $11,000 in what would have been fake cards. So I know Ryan Nolan on his channel Breakout Cards has a couple of videos describing that whole situation, which is has hit this area, Iowa and Wisconsin.
Yeah, I really would recommend, and I'm not a big recommender, but I recommend that anybody read Ryan Nolan's book on catching fakes. Good read. I highly recommend it, and it doesn't hurt to always educate yourself more and more and more. So I highly recommend it. So we've got some topic that y'all wanted to talk about. I don't know, 100% what that might be. What was that, Bo? What was that topic y'all wanted to cover? I can't remember.
I forgot. Maybe Rich remembers.
I don't remember either. I think both of us did something this weekend. Bo at some place on John Nolan Drive in Madison, Wisconsin.
Hey,
I don't want to know nothing about the places.
Now, I remember, I know that address better than I know my home address at this point. And apparently John Nolan was a big shot in Madison, Wisconsin back in the day.
He has a street named after him. He was an architect.
That's okay. My synagogue's on Custer, and we know how well General Custer's thing ended. But with the jocularity, as Father Mulcahy used to say, but with all jocularity aside, both of us actually ran events this weekend. And I learned a lot because I hadn't run an event in 26 months. The last show I ran was the Sunday before the world shut down in 2020. You talk about cutting that tight. And you started during the COVID thing, and you've expanded from 15 tables to 135 tables in both rooms. I had room for 45 tables at my old location, and I can expand I had about 19 tables, and I expand to maybe 25 in the new location. And that's about it. So we have different situations now. You have a much wider show, but I think we just want to talk about some of the challenges we have. I'm only going to be twice a year. You're monthly, but I was monthly for a while too. So I think it's good topic for us to talk about some of the challenges we have and some of the things we've learned. Yeah, I know you do a lot of this every day, but for those who don't listen to you every day.
One of the challenges I ran into this past weekend was I expanded into a third room, which I was hesitant because our main ballroom, the show is in the Capitol Ballroom on the second floor, and I fit about 70 tables in that main ballroom. There's about a dozen tables that can fit out in the hallway mezzanine area. And I had so much demand, but that's really not why I expanded. The reason I expanded was the January show this year was so packed with, 80 tables in that upstairs. There were people walking away from tables and leaving the show because they couldn't see anything. There were so many people, packed in the second floor and in the areas that, and you don't want people to leave a show unhappy because they might not come back and probably won't come back because now there's too many people there. I don't want to be in there. So that's
nobody goes there anymore. It's too crowded.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. It's too crowded. Nobody goes there anymore. Yogi. So that's the main reason I expanded into the, and unfortunately I don't have ballrooms on the same level. So, the main ballrooms upstairs. That's an interesting dilemma
because I've always wondered about this. I always wanted to ask you because I always, as a vendor, despised having to take an elevator or something to a second floor. Does the hotel have parking on a second floor where I don't have to take an elevator to the second floor to load and unload my stuff?
No. There's two banks of elevators, so that's so it does require an elevator to go up to the second floor. So, it is annoying, but it is what it is.
It is what it is. But I mean, as a vendor, that was to me in New Jersey, that was an automatic turnoff.
Yeah.
Forget it. If a friend of mine, he had a nice little show, but you had to carry everything down three steps.
Oh yeah.
You couldn't even hand truck. You had to carry everything in.
Oh wow.
And
That would be a
at this
turnoff.
point in
Yeah.
my life, I'm not carrying stuff in unless I can wheel it in. But there are certain things like the location I had, my old location, you could just come in literally from the back of the building. This you can park in the front, but there's a small ramp, and you've got to. A couple people were able to carry stuff, but most of it, you wheel your stuff up and down the ramp. It's not a big ramp. I mean, it's not like it was a huge issue, but it's still a ramp. And we had an issue where the door would not always stay open because the wind gust was so high.
Ah.
I mean, you talk about silly, and then we had the biggest issue we had was signage. We had our annual Brotherhood dinner there Thursday, and my friend Raymond, who used to help me at all my shows, and he still helps, and he actually took a table and he sold out. So he actually helped me pack stuff out, the extra stuff we brought with us. So I was happy to do that, happy to have him there. And Raymond says, "You're going to need signage." When he says, "This is if you have GPS, it'll take you right to the door. If you don't have GPS, you can get lost." I got lost the first 2 times. I tried to find the place myself, and I knew exactly where it was. So there are challenges, so we know we have to increase the signage. We know, we have challenges you don't have, and you have challenges I don't have. Because I know you've talked about the third room. Gets very in the summer. It's too hot and humid in that third room.
Yeah. And we have heat and cold issues all
Oh.
year long.
Oh no, Bo, no.
Well,
No, Bo.
heat isn't, but not. It depends how hot and how cold. Because you don't want the dealers in a winter coat, but a dealer in a sweater is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I went to a show in East Texas, one of the first ones that I attended, the East Texas Card Show, and the AC went out, and it was 102 that day.
Fortunately, Wisconsin, we don't have those issues of
But it's
102
99 it was 99 in the room. But by the time the show had heated up to 85, people left. So no, you must have room temperature, AC, heat. No.
Yeah, and that's a challenge that's out of your control. And it's the HVAC system at the hotel. And here's the issue we have. In the summer, it's too cold. It's not heat in the summer, it's cold in the summer. So most people actually like it. I don't, because I like the heat.
You're
so
strange.
I know. And so that's the issue I have. And I go down to the front desk and, hey, is there any way you can like turn the air down or off or whatever? And they're like, no, because it's hot and humid down here in the lobby, and they're on the same system. So, and then it's, fortunately we don't have really a cold issue in the winter. It's actually been pretty, the temperature's been okay. Our show, and I think it was the April show when Herman came up, the downstairs room was super hot and humid, which that room is right next to the indoor pool. So it can get pretty stuffy in there, especially when the room warms up. And I think that's, when people go to card shows, people that have never run a card show don't understand the challenges and things that are beyond a promoter's control. It's like, I was running out of space in the main ballroom. Well, get a bigger space. Well, it's expensive. And if I wanted to get a bigger space, I'd have to charge my vendors twice as much. I'd have to charge customers $5 admission, $10 admission. There's a reason why there's high admission prices in certain venues, because it costs a lot of money to rent that space. And so there's challenges like the heating and cooling system is beyond our control. And a lot of, there's question marks where, well, this show's popped up on this weekend. And especially when it comes to, the upper Midwest in the summer, a lot of people are doing other things because we have 8 months of winter here. And there's only so many weekends in a month. And now that the hobby's popular and hot, there's a lot of card shows popping up. And so when a new card show pops up, there's complaints that, oh, you're on the same weekend as this show. And sometimes you can't control which weekends. I couldn't control having a show on Memorial Day Saturday this past weekend because the week before there was a wedding booked at the venue. And the hotel makes a lot more money on a wedding than my card show. So they're gonna not cancel a wedding booking for a card show. So there's a lot of things that I think people don't, it's not really thought of that I would have, a lot of these things would have been complaints that I would have had going to a card show. Well, why can't it be another weekend? Why can't it be in a bigger space? And, those are just challenges that, if they're not beyond your control, it's, beyond your expenses.
Well, yeah, I'm lucky. The place I use is our synagogue, so I know when I can use it. I'm not going to have competition. I have to be careful. The biggest issue I had this year is we opened our synagogue. Our dedication was May 12th. I had to make sure we had the seed. So we were talking before the show. I had to promote, but not over promote, because something can still go wrong with the certificate of occupancy.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, nothing did. We opened May 12th, and it's been fine. There are still a couple things that have to be worked out with the building. The air conditioning was working great, so that was not an issue. As a matter of fact, if it was anything, it was too cold, which is fine. Rather be too cold in the summer than too warm. But Cooter brings up the interesting thing about theft, and you and I know, have discussed this. And I've had very little issue, and I think you've mentioned you have very little issue. But there are 3 reasons I've always charged admission. And I know you are free entry. And the 3 reasons are: it helps defray the cost of the room, it helps you get a head count, and if I know somebody has stolen stuff, or if there's a bad apple, by being a paid thing, I can say you can't come in. If I'm free, I can't say you can't come in. And the other thing, which is really weird, I used to do free admission every December. Traditionally, December was my lowest attended show. It was usually the first week of December, and my average for December was less people when I was letting them in for free than I was any other month of the year. And yet you're doing fine with free admission, which always drives me up a tree, because I'm thinking, I'm not even trying to make you extra money, but I'm trying to explain why I think you're protecting yourself by charging $1. Not more than $1, $1.
Right. The first 2 months I charged admission, and it was nice to get an accurate account of how many, customers came through the doors. To this point now, it's just not feasible based on the setup. There's 2 entrance, there's 2 ways to get into the show when it's on the second floor. And then when I have the room downstairs, which is probably going to be an ongoing monthly, open room now with tables, now you're adding that dynamic as well. So I would have to have, at least 3 people taking money. And I don't want to worry about that. And then then you have to do the marker. And so that's the main reason.
You have signage anyway. So you're going to have the signage. I don't see what's wrong with putting somebody, like putting your wife to work.
Yeah, put your mom and wife to work.
His mom doesn't live near them, so let's not make his mom commute. But his wife lives close enough by, and he probably got a friend he can probably every other month trade tables for. Say, hey, do this 1 month, and I'll give you a table the next month.
Yeah. Bo doesn't have any friends. What are you talking about?
That's right. All my friends are on the internet.
I know that feeling. And I'm going to say this in all seriousness too. Another reason I like charging admission nowadays, by the way, at the synagogue show, it's a suggested donation. If you say you don't want to pay, we let you in anyway.
Yeah.
So we don't care. And John Keating had a couple questions that I will answer separately. But there were still 7 or 8 people I did not recognize. I'm going to add a bunch of names to my mailing list again. And I was very proud of you, Bo. You had a drawing, so you finally got names for a mailing list, which you should be doing at every show.
I know, and that's definitely something that I should have been doing.
I completely agree with this statement, 100%. I 100% agree with this. Porter should be the baseball card bailiff. I vote for
So I do want to answer a couple of John's questions. One, Pat, I did not need Patrick to be my Sherpa. So
that.
Patrick just came and he paid his dollar suggested donation and he was very happy and he bought some stuff.
You must
So
have
I was
come
very
Saturday.
happy to see him this weekend. By the way, his mom makes wonderful holiday cookies. So just remember there are some benefits to having a Sherpa. And also we
Misfit.
didn't do any prizes, John. So
Yeah.
the Alan the Misfit toys got a rest.
Yeah, no prizes this time. So
There was because I had to learn, and we may or may not do prizes. We may do prizes or do prizes differently at the next show, because as you saw, the room is not beautifully set up like the old room was for that. So I'm reevaluating mentally whether I want to do that or whether I just want to say sell the boxes out of my office, sell the cards, and I'll still keep the prizes, and the prizes will just be for sale, and then we can negotiate prices on that. And basically, the idea is whatever, hey, just go sell them.
yeah. So there was another question. I cannot remember off the top of my head. I'll have to go back and look.
Okay,
I mean,
Jenny, to answer your question, I personally always let in kids and significant others free, and that's a personal choice. Some people charge everybody. I was always hey, you're here to support your husband or your man, or because there was actually, or your woman.
I was
Because
about to say easy
I had
there.
a father come with a daughter. The daughter was the collector, not the father. Shocked me. No, she's the collector, not me. Okay, well, good. Do you want to pay? Yeah, I'm going to pay you anyway. But but if they're there just to support the other, I don't want to charge them. It's not fair. I want the people who are going to pay money to spend, and it's $1. But the people who aren't going to, the people who are just there because their hubby's there, or their boyfriend's there, or their girlfriend's there, or their kid is the collector, and the parents just tagging along, I don't want to charge them. They're doing me a favor by coming, and we want to make it a fun experience. At the big Kyle show, I remember somebody came to my table. I really enjoyed this show at this church in McKinney. You had these prizes on the floor, and you had this wonderful snack bar with hot dogs and chips and sodas, and you had bagels and donuts in the morning. That was my show. The only two small details: it's a synagogue in Plano instead of a church in Louisville or McKinney. But the point was, I want a positive experience for the people coming in the door.
Yeah, Jenny makes a great point. Porter needs to run those tables, then they'll never get away from the barber.
Keep them engaged.
So I actually have a question. A friend of mine, Dr. Lance, GL Sports Cards, he's doing a small show upcoming in the latter part of June, and it's his very, very first card show. And he's terrified, but he's going to jump in. What would be some advice that you would give him to start promoting a small show? And no, this is not me disguised as Dr. Lance.
Where is the show located?
635 and 75 in Dallas. Yeah, in Dallas.
In a hotel or a center?
At a hotel.
Has he listed it in Beckett yet?
He has listed it in Beckett.
Has he listed it in Sports Collectors Digest yet?
It is listed in Sports Collectors Digest.
Has he placed, we'll call small ads on places like Craigslist?
That was the next step that I told him to do. And then I also told him to run Facebook ads because Bo says run Facebook ads. So
does he have a lot of faith? I know he doesn't have a mailing list, but does he talk? What weekend is he running the show?
The 25th of June, if I remember right.
Okay. Because Kyle has a show at the Esports Event Center, aka the Arlington Convention Center, in Arlington, the 17th and 18th.
Yeah. So it's the weekend after.
Doing that weekend.
Yeah. So I mean, what would be? I mean, other than that, what's y'all's advice on someone? And this is not me. This is not me.
Did he walk around Kyle's show Did he walk around Kyle's show last week trying to get the table sold?
He did not, out of respect for Kyle.
Okay, you can walk around and talk to dealers. I would have been thrilled if he came to my show and talked to the dealers. Some of them might have done it. You got to go to where the people who might actually be setting up at your show are at some point.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, I showed Kyle respect too. The very first thing when I realized we could do the show at the synagogue, I literally that afternoon went and talked to Kyle and said, I'm not doing a monthly show anymore, but I wanted to. I love John Keating's posts. John should be the permanent host.
He should. Every single one, he needs to be on it.
Right. But I would have, I would talk, but I talked to Kyle, and Kyle was very supportive. I had a way for Dallas Card Show grading to be there at my show. And I advertised it, and finally, when I finally had the 1 week, they go, you didn't tell us. I said, yeah, I did, but it was a miscommunication, but it wasn't bad. We worked it out, and we know for Labor Day weekend they'll be there too, because the guys who do the grading, I have full faith in the Dallas Card Show grading, but that's a different subject for a different day. I wouldn't have them there if I didn't know how good they were at grading. But you've got to go to where the dealers are. There were 700 tables at Kyle's show. Someone would do your show. You're not the same weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would definitely echo that sentiment. First, I would reach out to Kyle and, or whoever the promoter is, Rich, if it's at Rich's show or whoever is the promoter of a show, before you start handing out business cards and talking to other dealers, first off, you want to build a rapport with other promoters. I mean, at my show, I have at least 4 other show promoters that set up tables at my show. And, we're all, we've all become friends, and, we share information on the no-shows and the late cancels, and, those words get around, and, we're all about promoting each other's shows. And, I don't like the guerrilla marketing where, and I've had this happen at my show where somebody has flyers and they're laying them on tables, and they didn't even have the common courtesy to reach out to me and introduce themselves, because number one, I may be a vendor at, somebody else. If somebody's setting up a show, and I'm just going to pull a city name out of my rear, La Crosse, Wisconsin. If somebody wants to start up a show in La Crosse and they start doing guerrilla marketing at my show and they don't reach out to me, but I see the flyers on the table, I'm not going to set up at that show because you kind of ticked me off. But if they have courtesy and reach out, hey, my name is so-and-so, and I'm starting a show in La Crosse. Do you mind if I come out to your show and talk to some of your dealers? Yeah, absolutely. I'm all for helping, the fellow promoters and hobbyists. And, that's going to go a lot longer ways than, just showing up and plastering your promotions material, around my show without introducing yourself.
And I just got told, there's a guy, and I used to work with at Beckett, and I've known him even before he came to Beckett, and he promotes a toy show and more in Plano, and it's the first Saturday of every month. And he came, and I know him. It's like he brings flyers with him. Doug, of course you can put out the flyers. And you can hand them to anybody you want to. A couple of the vendors do his show. They know him. It's like, why tell him no? And even if he said I wasn't going to, I said, Doug, I know what you want to do. Just put the flyers down. But I'm that way with everybody. I always let everybody put their flyers down because it only promotes what we do.
That's interesting. Good job cross promoting, Jenny.
Thank you.
It just seems like a lot of work. It seems like a lot of stuff to do, and then it just seems to like I don't know. For me, because I've gone to such bad shows. I mean, really, really, really bad. I mean, no heat, nobody shows up, um, not even advertised. Only the promoter makes money. I mean, I've been to some really, really bad shows. I mean, at one show, Bo, I had to bring my own table and chairs. So you can believe the backpack that I carry normally, and then bring in all my stuff and the tables and chairs and the kitchen sink and the dog and the cat and this. I mean, I had to bring everything. It's
If
just,
I remember the flyer correctly, and I haven't been in Gervis closed his show store a long time ago, but Gervis Ford was a very good friend, and he and Dr. Beckett did a lot of stuff together, and they promoted the first card show in Dallas in 1975. And if I recall seeing that flyer correctly, you brought your own tables in 1975. So 50 years later, you're still bringing your own tables. So it happens. But I've done that to shows too. I actually had to do that once at Kyle's show. I brought my own tables because something went awry, and I ended up having to set up my own table. It was kind of a convoluted thing, and it worked out fine. It actually gave me more room, but it happens sometimes.
And those shows that are bad, they won't last.
Yeah.
You know,
well, they didn't.
Does that guy still run shows, Brad?
Nope.
That's the point. During a time when everybody's shows were booming, this guy's show should have been great. And basically, they're done.
Yeah.
Think about it. Last year's shows were off the charts.
Mm-hmm.
Except for this guy who, I mean, we've talked about it. That guy didn't even do the simplest thing like put the listing in the Beckett magazine.
Yeah.
That's a simple thing. That's a 30-second online thing to do. It's not like it's rocket science. Sending an email to Sports Collectors Digest, and I had a couple people come from that, took me about a minute, and because I followed the format, the guy told me I did fine. These are simple promotion things that don't take time, and once they're listed, they're there. I had like 5 responses the first day the show response hit on the Beckett show calendar. I had 5 emails that day from people asking, and it was very nice to see that people were paying attention.
I'm sorry. What'd you say?
But
No, I've had like, I don't, maybe it's my luck that I've gone to like the not the worst shows ever, but I mean, maybe it's just been my luck. I don't know.
Well, Brad, I think some of it is, as I said, if he's not listed in Beckett, that's a pretty good sign that you probably have a promoter missing the simple things.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And he isn't doing anything anymore, and he's not even in the hobby anymore. He's gone to a different quote unquote greener
Is that your
pasture.
real name, by the way?
I'm sorry?
Read John Keating's latest comment. Is that your real name?
No. That is not my real name. Nobody, I can't say that. Eventually it will get out because Herman calls it to me all the time. So eventually that will just, no, don't, John, because probably you will download knowing John, he will download the voice or the podcast version, then cut it up, and somehow it will end up as like a voiceover on this show. So no, you cannot.
now you might be putting ideas in his head.
Just remember, John is a technical whiz. He can do things we can't do.
I know.
You know, he's done things for 10,000 Maniacs and Neil Young and many two artists to mention. So I asked him where the worst place he was, and he says when he toured with Neil Young, when he came down to the Dallas Card Show, and we spent some time together, I asked him not like his favorite person. I asked the worst place he ever did. He says, one year we toured with Neil Young, and Neil Young asked to do all the dives, all the worst possible places to do shows.
Mm.
By the way, Neil Young, as you know, is a rock and roll legend. And he wants not to do the great things. He wants to do the nitty-gritty, terrible places. But he's not unique in that. I will point out that Sir Paul McCartney, circa 1977, created a group and did it at small pubs in London, in England, so he could go back to his roots too. It's more common than you think to go back to your roots.
Yeah. So let's
Running and doing small shows is our roots.
that's true. That's true. So let's talk. Let's move from small shows to a really small show, where people can't even get through the door to be able to get in, and where nobody knows your name, and all that entails. Um, it's less than 2 months to the national, yo. It's 2 months, less than 2 months. Um, I've never been. I've never been to the national. This is going to be my second national. I can't say that. I did go to the one in Arlington in '90. So, but
Were
that
you
was
bigger then?
that was nothing like this one. So yeah. Tell me what to expect besides being absolutely overwhelmed.
You're going to be overwhelmed.
No matter how prepared you are to not be overwhelmed, you will be overwhelmed.
The last couple years were the first years I ever went to the national where I didn't walk in the door and have to compose myself for 5 minutes before starting. I usually have to literally look around, compose myself for 5 minutes, 4 minutes, 10 minutes, and then start. And I know the people in the front of the room. When we say they're my people, they really are my people. A lot of them I've known since the 80s or 70s. And yet I'm still overwhelmed. And I have to get into that mode of there's so many different things I do at a card show. We'll all end up and I'm going to tell you something, Brad, or Bradford, or Bradley, or Brad whatever, or Brad Jelena, or whatever names they're trying to call you. I'm going to tell you one table we're all going to end up. We're all going to end up at the singles club table at some point.
I don't know.
See, I don't when last year, I didn't even take my first national was 2019. And that's like I walked in, I knew it was going to be overwhelming, and I just kind of looked around like, holy crap. But last year, I knew where I was going, and Rich just meant the singles club, and I just made a beeline. I was upstairs in the VIP lounge with the autograph session with Cecil Fielder, and raced downstairs, and I didn't even phase me. I just went straight to the singles club, and somebody stopped me on the way there, and I apologize, whoever it was. I don't remember, and I was probably not really paying close attention to the words that were coming out of their mouth, because I had one thing on my mind, and it was dollar boxes. And I eventually made it over there, and I think Rich beat me. He was already in his spot. But I think that's Rich. I think that's the first time you and I met in person was
Yes,
last
it was.
year's national at the singles club.
And it was funny, 2 years in 2019, I tried to get Dr. Beckett to that booth. It didn't quite work out. And I told him it didn't work out. 2021, I happened to be there when he walked by. I said, "You're going to be here for the rest of the show." He didn't believe me. He was there for the rest of the show. Or when I say for the rest of the show, for most of the rest of the show. And
Yeah.
to some extent, I'm also his. We were kidding that I'm Brad's turtle at the Texas Legends events, but I am truly at times Dr. Beckett's wingman at the national, telling him, "Hey, you need to go to these tables," and I'll make a list for him. Go here, go here, go here, and go here, because I know what he wants to look for.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure I could tell Bo the same thing. We all love these bargains. We all love these value boxes. That's the new hobby term. You would have loved my show, Bo. Almost every deal.
Oh my gosh, yes. I spent 2 hours digging in Duke's table, just at one. It took because I'm like, and like Homer Simpson drooling everywhere.
Well, the thing was, Duke didn't add a lot, so I hit his box hard last week at the big Dallas card show.
You left some nuggets.
I'm glad I did. There are things I left that were probably good for you. And Duke sometimes lowers prices too. So what I passed on, he might have lowered the price and said, "Okay, good for you, Brad." But Raymond had a good. Raymond sold out of his value boxes. My friend Ed had value boxes. Bobby Bradshaw had dime boxes. Well, you would have been in heaven. I mean, it would have been a small show. We drew maybe to show the difference in attendance. We drew 80 people total, I think, for 2 days, which normally would be a disaster. But when you only have 8 or 9 vendors, guess what?
Yeah.
That's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
And that's why I was telling people I did certain things. A lot of the vendors were my old, we'll call them what they call here, not, is it the ticket where they talk about the,
Yep. It's a
whatever
ticket.
the term is for their long-term listeners.
Yep.
It was like that with the dealers. So I said, look, if I would go to them. I said, look, on Sunday, I said, I want to collect. I have you down for 100 OL. And what does OL mean? Or less. Meaning, if you had a really bad show, I don't have to worry. You're fine. And only one needed to take advantage of that, and everybody else paid me in full. And a couple vendors actually paid me a little more, so it worked out. But I wanted to take care of my vendors. You should not do that at a normal show. But because of the circumstances, I wanted to take care of the people who've been with me for 8-9 years.
Yeah. So it's a good question. I want to get this in. Does the National set up dealers in a certain way, like vintage, slab, or is it just a whole mishmash?
It's done by priority. So if you have, that's why the same couple guys are always in the front right when you walk in the room. That's where their tables are. It's not done by what they have. It's done by priority. So you select your table based on priority. Yeah. Which is why the corners, like we've talked about at the National, which is why the corners are for people like you and me and Bo, where we go, because you shop the corners. You don't shop the middle of the floor, which is going to be a lot of guys who have done the show 20, 25, 30 years. Well, if they've done the show 20, 25, 30 years, the odds are they're not going to have a lot of brand new cards.
Yeah. Yeah. So what you're saying is we're going to have to beat Patrick to all the cards at the vintage show. This is a pretty good, for those of you that didn't know the context, VIP Lounge, it would be a great title. It would be.
That's great.
It would be. And speaking of the upcoming shows, because I'm going to do a little bit more house cleaning. This weekend we have the lovable, amazing, everybody please aggravate John Keating with Val and Jason Dean Martin. So everybody who wants to aggravate that 70s card show, they're going to be on this Saturday. And then Tuesday's going to be Mike Moynihan, Yo and Hello, Ryan Nolan, and Adam Palmer. So that's going to be a good show. And then next Saturday is going to be a very, very special, very, very rare instance of one time only from what Val's telling me, because it's going to be a train wreck. It's going to be me and John Newman, which I can't wait for. And then who's the one in the, oh yeah, Victor's in the middle. It's going to be greatness with the birthday boy, Uncle Rich. So there'll be lots of birthday singings going on during that show. Definitely going on in that show. So
I want to ask you one question. Why haven't you ever done a 2-day show?
Well, security is the main reason. There's so many. I don't want to deal with that hassle. And there's multiple doors into the rooms.
Okay.
There's like a fire escape entrance in the main ballroom, and I mean, I'd kind of like to do a 2-day show. And I have met some trade night kings that really know how to do good trade nights, that have expressed interest in doing a trade night, which I haven't really been a fan of doing a trade night for a 1-day show. I think those are best suited for your multi-day shows. But after talking to them, I think it might have some success. But I think security is the main reason that I haven't really looked into it.
Thankfully, I never had that issue, but one of the reasons I asked, because I'm a 1-day show in March, usually, and a 2-day show Labor Day weekend. And by the way, our synagogue was so secure that our brotherhood president, when they set up the system to get in the door and he had a fob, they forgot to give him Monday access. We couldn't get in the door Monday morning. So nobody got into the show Monday. Wow. But in all seriousness, you're paying, you may pay 2 days for the room, but you're only paying setup once. I assume your hotel charges you a setup fee.
It's a very small
But they're
fee.
still charging you a setup fee.
Yeah.
You don't have to pay the setup fee for the second day.
Right.
So you can charge 1.x, 1.75x, but you're only paying, instead of, 2x. There's a math that works for that.
Sure.
Where you can actually charge 1.6. And the other thing is you might even get better dealers.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
There'll be dealers who will say, oh, a 2-day show?
Right.
Let me drive the couple of hours and
Absolutely.
do it, because I know that I've got 2 days then. I mean, my friend Roger Neufeld would never come down for a 1-day show, but he loved my 2-day shows.
Yeah.
And, it's funny. One of the things you talk about is letting people in early. Roger used to yell at me about letting people in early. And the people I used to let in early were honestly going for value. They would go to value boxes. They were not buying the same stuff Roger was.
Yeah.
If they were, I wouldn't let them in, but they weren't buying what Roger was buying. So it was perfectly fine. Until these nice people came from East Texas, an hour and a half away. They showed up at 10:15 on a Sunday morning. Remember, the show was 11 to 3. And I said, Roger, I know how you feel about letting in people early, because he's saying, I said, Roger, I'll let them in under one condition. I never want to hear another word from you again. Said very courteously, I'm letting people in early. And he never again said another word about letting people in early to the show. Because he realized his pocketbook could be affected too.
Uh-huh.
I got some of his complaint. If you're setting up, some of his stuff's valuable. You don't want people you don't know walking around.
Yeah.
But I was very careful who I was letting in early. If the guy's going to hit the dime box, he's not hitting Roger's table.
Yeah.
But I get that. I get that. I mean, I was at my show Saturday mornings when it was a 10 to 4 show, and I'd be at my show by 7 o'clock. And the dealers knew I'd be there by 7 o'clock. And one time I actually got like 3 flat tires on the way for an 8-minute drive. That was pretty impressive.
Jeez.
And my wife had to bail me out. I get to the show at 7:15. There are 4 dealers waiting for me. Sorry, I had a bunch of flat tires. My wife's getting the car fixed. I just got here. And they were all okay, but they were actually frustrated because I was late. Because they knew I'd be there by 7.
Yeah.
Well, there's been a request, so I'm gonna. That's the only reason why I'm even gonna mention this. I'm not a big promotion guy into it, but everybody knows that I had Texas Card Dude show daily, and then whatever, and it just kind of went away because I just couldn't do it. Well, I met up with a friend of mine that I've known for 25 years in the technology realm, and we just really started talking about just branding and sales and all that entailed. And when in the middle of it, she goes, well, why aren't you doing a podcast now? Or why aren't you doing a show now? And I'm like, well, I don't want to do that. She goes, no, it's different. It's different. Not a lot of salespeople are doing it. So I mulled it over for a little bit, talked to a couple of other people, and tomorrow morning, I'm dropping it is not live, it is a recorded show called Tech and Cards. And it's where technology and sports cards meet. The premise of the show is talking about technology and the solutions around technology with a sports card twist. So this episode, it has Ziggy No and I are talking about NFTs. So we talk about NFTs. We talk a little bit of Battlestar Galactica. And we also talk a little bit about applications, which is what I really wanted to focus the show on is applications of. And it just turns up being an application about retail and show promotion, Bo. So it's very applicable to card shows. It's very applicable applicable. There we go. To retail and to business, and that's the whole context of the show, is to try to have it encompass a technology portion and a sports card person. Yeah, it's a complete and total nerd alert, and I want it to be that because I'm at work. I am a complete nerd. So that's I didn't want to be a nerd growing up in college or in high school, and some of you will say that I still haven't grown up, but in my professional life I've kind of grown up. There will be cosplay. Uh, I
Brad, we never have to worry about you growing.
But it drops tomorrow. It's recorded. I've already got the second one lined up. It's going to be the 1st and the 15th. We'll see how it goes. I'm extremely excited because I had a lot of fun doing it with Michael, and it'll be fun. It'll be fun. So I put the link in the chat. Like, subscribe, and aggravate me. That way, everybody will know that I'm loved. So
I do want to mention my manager at CompC also does, we'll call it noise music, and he drops an album tomorrow
nice.
called Salt and Vitriol, and you can look it up. It's going to be interesting, and if you like noise, you would like it. If you don't like noise, oh well.
Yep.
But I did want to give it a shout out. He is my manager.
There you go. Bo, do your shout out real quick. We got we'll go an extra 30 seconds left for you.
I will. I'm going to shout out my wife because she's been a huge help with the show promoting and with my business. Selling cards full time. In fact, I created some new business cards. I am not very techie, design. I don't have much design. So I showed her my design of these cards, and she's like, "I think we can make these better." She didn't say those words, but that's what she meant, I think. So she created some new ones that I will be, printing off and using to promote the YouTube channel. So that's my shout out.
I hear you.
So we thank you all for listening. We thank you all for watching. We thank all the comments, especially John Keating, who keeps us in stitches.
Yes,
definitely. And I've got to give a second shout out. And I did a video. And I did a video this afternoon.
One per customer.
I did a video this afternoon, and it's about John. That 70s card show. John sent me a surprise package that I received today. He has an awesome background traveling with bands and the WWF. So he sent me his backstage pass from WrestleMania 7
That's awesome.
in 1991, which is just, that's going to be, I'm going to get a frame or something to get that displayed in my rec room. And then a couple of backstage passes from the 1991 Tom Petty tour, which I mentioned Tom Petty's like on my Mount Rushmore of favorite artists. And then in a pack of 1990 classic wrestling cards that I'll break open that pack. So John, cool. I'm beyond thankful. And I mentioned that and messaged him. And so he'll get some awesome 70s cards in the mail here in the next week or so. So that's my other shout out.
DR, it's past my bedtime. We'll talk about card show bloopers. Bo and I will do a return engagement, and we'll talk about card show bloopers one day.
All right. Well, y'all have an absolutely fantastic night. Rich has already got his sunglasses on, so he's ready to go outside.
And can I give one other shout out?
Sure.
And I say this seriously, and this is a different type of shout out. One of our Brotherhood board members came with his son on Sunday, and we were chatting. And he's currently in the hospital with severe kidney failure due to extreme potassium levels. So, Brad, please add, his name is Saul. Please add him to your prayer list for tonight.
He is added.
And nights going forward, and hopefully he's been in that hospital, but this is the most serious case he's had for a while.
Yep,
please add him to your prayer list tonight.
Most definitely. Not no hesitation. Well, thank you very much. Y'all have a fantastic night and um, have fun. Bye.